And it's not even very hard. It's not hard. But, you being on a plant-based diet, it's not difficult.
No.
It's really, it's probably the easiest diet because there's no calorie restriction. You're mostly eating you don't have to think about what you're eating. You're eating healthy. You're eating like, fruits and vegetables and lentils and pulses. And it's not as hard as people make it in their mind that vegan food is difficult to source. I travel all around the world. I've never had a problem with vegan food.
Right.
It's not hard. So I think with people who are, who don't think in that direction, this would be a good time to take up a vegan, like a 21-day vegan challenge. And 21 days is more than enough for your body to start healing and repairing and for you to start seeing it. And that's going to be your motivation to continue. So this is what I say, people, take up a 21-day challenge. How hard can it be?
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. And today I have an amazing featured expert who actually comes to us all the way from India. And Roshni Sanghvi is my expert today. And that's Roshni Sanghvi. She's a psychology major. She has actually done a lot of work in the psychology field and came to really connect the dots between the psychology of a plant-based vegan diet and lifestyle, health and nutrition, high performance. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how somebody can use exercise and a plant-based diet to really perform at their best. And I have to really frame it with, lately, we have been going, at the time of this conversation, we're going through our big election in the United States. And as we were moving into election day, I found myself getting more and more depressed, actually. I was just the energy of what was going on. And what I found was by upping my nutrients through a really rock solid meal of plant-based, it was a soup with all these vegetables and just amazing nutrients. And I went on a run and I did a gratitude run, and it really helped me to get in the right mind space. So I would love to start with, tell us about your background, how you got involved in the whole connection between health, fitness, plant-based eating, exercise, all of that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kathleen, for having me here, first of all, and all the amazing work that you do. I'm inspired so much by you. And in fact, based on last conversation, I've been giving your example to people, like everyone I meet on a daily basis. You know, how you continue to redefine age, how you're doing what you're doing. I think you're fabulous, man. I want to age like you. You're amazing. Thank you so much. But yeah, US, I think it's not only the US, the entire world is like, biting their nails on the US election. I've been following it since morning. And I completely understand when you're in that, like you're going through it. We are just we are looking from our TV screens, but you guys are going through it. So yeah, it is like it's something which takes a toll on you mentally, physically. And if you're not incorporating practices, like you say, in terms of meditation, fitness activities, nutrition, then already with the coronavirus and everything going on in the world, it's very hard to cope. And you don't realize when you start getting on this path of downfall and continue going down, unless you like make lifestyle changes and start taking your health in your own hands. So a little bit about my background. I was living and working in the US. I did my bachelor's and my master's in the US, in New York, in Manhattan, actually. And I loved it then. I was studying psychology. And I had to come back to India because of a family emergency. And, I came back with a lot of vengeance, a lot of anger, because I didn't want to come back. And my dad was really sick. And I was angry on him that as a parent, because you're not taking care of your health, now we have to come back and take care of you. And there was, frustration as a young 20-something-year-old. I'm glad I did, though, because the opportunities I got here, I probably wouldn't have got anywhere in the world. And the kind of people I work with now, especially when it comes to fitness, when you go to a gym and you're working with a fitness trainer not necessarily will understand hormonal fluctuations. A fitness trainer not necessarily will know what's going on with the client mentally. If the client is on antidepressants, if the client is going through anxiety, body image issues, bulimia, anorexia, and this is so common now. It's like, it's really common. But my psychology background helped me connect with the clients on a different level. Also working with clients from a broader spectrum, like someone has schizophrenia or bipolar, they don't have a lot of options in terms of fitness, because not all personal trainers are going to understand what they're going through. So I think, coming back to India from a psychology background and then getting into fitness has given me this opportunity to sort of merge both the fields and use fitness as a form of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand that. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I know that for me, I've been plant-based for a little over 2 years now, and I've been into health and fitness most of my life, but I've also been a yo-yo dieter. My heaviest weight was about 60 pounds heavier than I am now. And it was actually during the time I was caretaking my mother. And I was so frustrated, like you, with how her life had ended up where it did, where she was in the hospital more times than she was out of the hospital the last couple of years of her life. And rather than me connecting the dots and saying, okay, how can I take care of myself during this period? I took care of her, but I was eating a lot of sugar. I was eating a lot of candy. I gained the weight. I wasn't moving much. I was sitting by her bedside. And now I look at it, and I'm in a few months, I'll be 67 years old, and I'm healthier now than at any point in my life. And I exercise a lot. And especially right now, I'd really love to dig deep into why it's so important right now with everything going on in the world. First of all, the energy of the food that we put in our body. I really believe that when we put dead animals in our body, we take on that energy, we take on the pain and suffering. And then the connection between the mind, body, and spirit around exercise also. So let's start with why putting plant-based foods into our body is so good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned this amazing. You mentioned two different things, and I'm so glad we connected how you're going through sort of with your mother, what you went through and what I went through with my father. Something I learned on my way, on my journey, is if you're a parent, it's your moral responsibility to be fit. You don't have a choice. You decided to give birth. Now you have kids. Now it's your moral responsibility to be a good role model to them. It's not okay. It's not okay to let your health, go in like whatever direction you want. If you're a parent, that becomes your moral responsibility. You have to take care of your health because kids look up to parents. That's very important. And I love that you mentioned sort of veganism, not from a health perspective, not from an ethical perspective, not from an environmental perspective. People don't talk about it, but from a spiritual perspective. And, in India, like if you look at Ayurvedic food is divided in three different types. There's Sattvic, Mastic, and Tansic, based on the food you're eating. Sattvic is basically mostly raw food. And then there's Mastic and Tamsic, one which has a lot of oils and spices and one which includes meat. And they say based on the kind of food you're consuming, your personality develops. And you don't think about this. Like people who tend to consume more meat are more aggressive. All of us know that people who work in like slaughterhouses are more prone towards domestic violence. And that's a fact. But also with regard to food, the kind of food you're consuming sort of becomes you. It becomes the personality you are. So if you start putting the right things in your body, I think from a spiritual perspective, and I wish there was more study, I wish this field was, explored more. But spirituality, I think as a science, from a scientific perspective, I don't think it's explored enough.
Right.
I don't think there's enough people studying it. But absolutely, I mean, depending on the kind of food you're putting in, you're going to have a simple example. When it comes to menstrual cycle, and I work with women with PCOS and PCOD issues, the more they go towards a plant-based diet and the more they're consuming fiber in the body, and this is very much this is just science, the more fiber you're consuming. Now, what happens in PCOS? In PCOS, there's a hormonal fluctuation and you have more female sex hormone and male sex hormone in the body. When you're consuming fiber, all these free-floating hormones are sort of attached to the fiber and flushed out of the body. Now, when you deprive yourself of fiber, then you have excess hormonal fluctuations. You're not going to have these, you're going to have, irregular menstrual cycles and pain and all of that. But with women itself who start following a plant-based diet, they start noticing they're not as depressed during their menstrual cycles. They start noticing they're not as aggressive. They start noticing there's not as many mood swings. And this is such a like an eye-opener. Depending on how you're eating is how you're going to behave. And I think it's beautiful, something
Yeah,
to be
and I
explored.
absolutely, I love what you're saying about the spiritual connection to the foods that we eat, because just this morning, as we're still waiting for the results from the election, I found that, well, I do a morning routine where I do yoga for about 45 minutes, then I meditate, and then I read something spiritual, and I'm reading out of a book called Practical Spirituality. And it really occurred to me that there's a lot we have no control over in the world. There's a lot that we really cannot do anything about. But what we can do is look at what is our life's work, what is the one thing that we can do on a daily basis, and live from that perspective. And for me, it's about how can I bring more compassion and love into the world. And as it might seem really a little airy-fairy to some people to say, well, let's pray about this and let's really, send loving energy to other people. But I believe there's a lot of power in that. And I also, I found it interesting what you said about the spousal abuse from people who work in, or domestic abuse from people who work in factory farms. And it makes perfect sense because they're around death, dying, torture, fear, anger on a daily basis. And when you're around all that, it seeps into your psyche. So for somebody who they know that they want to make a change, they know that how they're living is not how they want to live, and they feel out of control, what are some real simple steps that people could take, first of all, to start a plant-based diet, and then to incorporate some exercise into that? Because I think that's a missing piece with a lot of people I talk to. They're plant-based, but they're not doing any movement.
Yeah, it is. And all three, there are three aspects where I work with clients. There's nutrition, there's fitness, and a very important one is lifestyle modification. So you sustain your nutrition and fitness. And all three aspects are equal. It's like three legs of a tripod. If you take one off, then you're going to fall. All three are equally important to sustain. Let me give you an example in terms of lifestyle changes. Now, when you say physical activity, think of, like a couple sitting in front of the TV and the doorbell ringing. One of the partners is most likely to get up and answer the doorbell, and the other partner is most likely to say, why don't you go and get the doorbell? One person's going to be a little bit more lethargic and one person's going to be naturally active. Now, where is this, how does this come? How does this attitude of being more active incorporate within us? This is something we teach ourselves throughout our lives without realizing. Let me give you an example. With some of my clients, what I tend to do is I give them a simple task. Cover 5,000 steps a day and let me know, just, make sure you're tracking it in your step tracker or your phone, and then send me a screenshot every night before you go to bed. Most likely on day one, what's going to happen is they're going to remember 30 minutes before going to sleep. And if they're good students, they're going to walk around their bed for 30 minutes, cover their 5,000 and then go to sleep. Second day, same thing. Third day, sometime during the afternoon, they're going to remember, hey, I don't like doing this, 30 minutes before going to sleep. Let me start doing it from now onwards. By day 7, day 8, it's going to automatically happen before they go to bed. By the first month, they are going to be that person who's going to get up and answer the doorbell. So it's something you teach yourself. And then that becomes a part of your lifestyle forever. And then you don't have to do something, go out of your way and do something in terms of physical activity. Like you mentioned yoga. You don't do yoga because you have to do physical activity. You do it because you like it. You've taught yourself to love it. So that didn't happen on day one. If anyone's attended a yoga class, by the way, it's hard. It's really hard. And you're not going to like it on day one or day 2 or like month 1. But something happens, when you do it consistently for long enough and you start falling in love. Yeah. And give yourself that much time. For newcomers, I think I learned about veganism or a plant-based diet when I was 18. I did not make the switch till I was 25. That took me 7 years to make the switch. Most of my clients, I expect them to do it overnight. And I tell them that I didn't have a coach as good as you guys do. So for you, it should come easier. But I think make a switch with like maybe one meal at a time.
Right.
Maybe just lunch, or maybe if you really like cheese or like you really like butter, okay, let that be a part of your diet. Maybe start switching the other things around that. And then eventually, like with people who've been on a plant-based diet for a long time, if I look at cheese now, it's repulsive. no matter how much I liked it before. So wait till that switch happens. Take small steps till the switch happen, but do things which are sustainable instead of, trying to sort of do everything together and then failing and then feeling bad and guilty. And
Right.
there's no point. Yeah. So go
Well,
slow, go one change at a time.
and what I find interesting is when people know that you're plant-based and you're vegan and they have meat or they have cheese or they have whatever they have and they apologize to you. And it's like, don't apologize to me, apologize to yourself if you're going to apologize to anybody. But this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. And I have the distinct privilege of speaking with Roshina. And Roshina, how can people get in touch with you before we continue on our conversation? I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you.
All my social media, which I'm sure you'll leave a link to below. But my
Yes.
website has link to all my social media. I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm starting YouTube. I've been, I've been trying to get into YouTube. It's hard handling so many things, but yeah, it's Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, I'm pretty active.
Okay, great. And what is your web address?
It's Roshni Sanghvi, which is my name.com, which is
Okay.
ROSANISANGHVI.com.
Great. And we'll be putting that in the show notes. And, like you said, with YouTube, you're easing into it. It's the same with plant-based eating for a lot of people. For myself, I actually, I am in recovery for drugs and alcohol. I've been sober for it's going to be 37 years next week. And for me, it's very black and white. There are some people that it's extremely black and white and other people who have to ease into it. And I always encourage people, go at the pace that's appropriate for you and look at the quality of life that you want. So when you're working with your clients and somebody says, I'm just so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I just want, I want to make some changes, but they keep falling back into old behaviors. You talked about them sending you a picture, which, by the way, here's my Garmin. And I'm doing several challenges right now. It's crazy. I'm doing the 75 hard challenge, which I don't know if you've heard about that, but I'll be putting a link below so people can understand what that is. But it's a very much a mindset challenge, but you do 2 45-minute exercise protocols a day. And in that, I'm doing 300,000 steps for the month. I'm doing 50 miles of running for the month. And I'm also doing a plank exercise. So I tend to be a little extreme. And people look at me and they go, oh, I could never do it like you. And it's like, you don't have to. Do it the way it fits for you. So when you're working with clients and they really do want to make that change, but they keep falling back, what are some other strategies that you could give them that would help them to ease into it?
I think it's different with regarding to different aspects, but when it comes to fitness, not everyone's going to like everything. Just because you saw a celebrity going to the gym and getting really ripped by going to the gym and you enroll yourself in the gym is not necessarily everyone's wagon, is what I like to say people. And if you get on the wrong wagon, you're going to fall off the wagon and then blame yourself for falling off the wagon. But you shouldn't have got on the wagon in the first place. I hate dancing. I don't like it. I'm so bad at it. If someone forced me into Zumba, like on my day one of fitness, no matter what, no matter even if I had the best trainer in the world, I wouldn't stick to it. I would never go back to the gym. Thank God I found what I really like.
Which
so
is?
I think with people, just experiment with different.
What is it you like? What's your favorite exercise?
Boxing.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Recently, yeah. Recently it's been boxing, but strength and conditioning has all. I love listening to music, like headphones on. The world gets switched off in my headphones. It's like meditation for me. There's no thoughts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With my dumbbells and barbells all by myself. Don't bother me. Just let me listen to my music and let me just, do my thing in the gym. It's my meditation. So everyone, you're going to find your meditation. But for you to find your meditation, you're going to have to start at a beginner's level, which is hard work, which is not fun. And, because you're comparing yourself to everyone in the class and you feel I'm never going to get here, you will get there. It's okay.
Right.
So you might push yourself for the first few days, but wait. And if you feel that's not your wagon, it's okay. There's so many forms of fitness. Yoga itself has like 100 forms. You have aerial yoga, you have Bikram, you have Ashtanga yoga, you have power yoga, you have Hatha yoga, you have animal flow yoga combination. That's the kind I love to do. You have floating yoga, you have toga, which is treadmill yoga. You have yoga with pets. You have so many different options. People don't even know about this, but explore the fitness forms around you. Maybe imagine this now. With fitness experts, what happens, I'll have to master some of the skills. I have to get my deadlifts right, and I have to get my, I can't teach someone a squat if I don't know a squat, so I have to do weight training. But with people who are not fitness experts, you have an opportunity to try 12 different forms of fitness in a year. 1 month, one form.
I
And then
like
every
that.
time you say to someone, you can say, I've also done boxing, I've also done this, I've also done that, I also done martial arts, I also, you have an opportunity to explore so much. So do that. Why would someone, when people especially say, I walk for fitness, why would you walk? You have so many options to
I like
explore.
that.
What is the most boring
I like
form
that.
of,
Well, right now there's a lot of fear of going back to gyms, at
yeah,
least in the United States. And I'm wondering in India, how is it with the gyms, with the pandemic and all that's going on? What's the temperature of the country as far as people's mindset, and whether or not, like in our own country, we're so divided because we have a current president who doesn't support wearing masks, and only when
and
it's
then
convenient. Yeah, and and then we have what we're hoping, there are a whole group of us hoping that we have a new president moving in. And so I just gave away my political views, but the reality is that there has to be a certain level of conscientiousness and awareness around what we can do. So in India, what's the whole temperature of the country as far as the pandemic?
I think one of the most beautiful things to come out of the pandemic, like my boyfriend says, is as a human race, we advanced 30 years without wanting to. So
Mm,
let me talk to you about fitness. There's more fitness online now than was ever before. I personally could not connect, like I was limited because of my mental geographic location, that I cannot train people more than my, like a few kilometer radius around me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm training clients from the UK, from the US, from Canada, from the Middle East, from Australia. I would have never thought of that. And sometimes when I have corporate presentations, these are like 1,000 people sitting in different parts of the country,
Wow.
everyone in front of, and you never think, I would have never thought of this. Hey, you can also train people like people from all these. I would not be talking to you. And
That's
this is, I
true.
think, beautiful things. Yeah, beautiful things which has come out of the pandemic, because it forces you to sort of explore. And I think it's beautiful because this is what 30 years from now would look like anyways. In terms of course, there's a lot of things negative you can look at from the pandemic point of view, but there's a lot of positive which has come out. But I think in India, people are a little more liberal. I wish they were not. And not everyone in my gym wears a mask. They get aggressive if you tell them to wear a mask. But I think it's just I think India right now is what, on the top, or the one on number one or number two. I think after US we are the number two with the highest number of cases. So
That's incredible.
we
And
haven't.
yeah, and there's simple things that people can do. There's my belief is we've got the outward, which is the mask, the social distancing, the washing hands. But even going before that, it's interesting because before that is our core health. And what frustrates me quite seriously, and I'm not minimizing the pandemic, I'm not minimizing those people who have gotten sick, but the people who are not taking care of their health. It's like what you said about, as a parent, it's your responsibility, but the comorbidity, the other conditions that people have that complicate it when they do get COVID, whether it be diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, all of those things that could be cured, truly cured with diet. So what do you say to those people who they're putting a Band-Aid over the situation, but they're not really getting to the core element of what they can do to minimize their risk should they get the virus?
And it's not even very hard. It's not hard. With you being on a plant-based diet, it's not difficult.
No,
It's probably the easiest diet because there's no calorie restriction. You're mostly eating you don't have to think about what you're eating. You're eating healthy. You're eating like, fruits and vegetables and lentils and pulses. And it's not as hard as people make it in their mind, that vegan food is difficult to source. I travel all around the world. I've never had a problem with vegan
right.
food. It's not hard. So I think with people who are, who don't think in that direction, this would be a good time to take up a vegan, like a 21-day vegan challenge. And 21 days is more than enough for your body to start healing and repairing, and for you to start seeing it. And that's going to be your motivation to continue. So this is what I say, people: take up a 21-day challenge. How hard can it be? It's not that you're restrict, like, when you look at certain low carb diets and low protein diets, all these things are hard, because
Right.
then you're go to food groups. You're not saying no, you're just replacing. You're replacing cow's milk with 100 different kinds of milk. It's more choices. It's not less
Right.
choices.
Right.
I think take up for anyone who's either already struggling with a metabolic disease, especially with type 2 diabetes, thyroid, hypertension, cholesterol, and PCOS. All of these, 21 days is enough for your body to start healing itself. And that's going to be your motivation enough. Test your blood sugar level now. Test it after 21 days on a plant-based diet. And that itself is your motivation to start dropping your medication, to
Nice.
talk to your doctor. So I think just, for people, just take up a 21-day challenge. It's not hard. You don't even need guidance, because plant-based food is naturally high in micronutrients. Now, let's say you're following like a keto diet. You have to take micronutrients. You're not getting enough vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin C. Plant-based diet, you're naturally getting it. So you don't have to worry about, am I getting enough micronutrients? Am I getting enough calories? No, of course, because all your vitamins and minerals come only from plants. Animals don't make it. And you're
Right.
eating only plants. So you don't have to think too much in terms of, am I healthy? Does a vegan diet need to be well planned? It's really not that difficult.
It's so true. It's actually quite simple and very easy. And what I love is when I introduce somebody into a plant-based meal and they're like, this is really good. It's better than I would have anticipated. And, I did something just yesterday. I set a new boundary that I was a little hesitant to do it. I oftentimes shop for my mother-in-law because she's at risk and she's in her 80s and she's got pulmonary fibrosis. So we do everything we can to make sure that she's okay. And usually she asks me to pick up salmon and maybe some turkey meat and all that. And yesterday I said, I have to tell you, I can't do that anymore. I said, I'm willing to shop for you, but I just will not buy any animal-based products.
Yeah.
And she goes, I was wondering when you were going to set that limit. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was my fear of her having her feelings hurt. And then I thought, wait a minute, this is about my ethics. This is about my values and how I feel about the animals. And talk to us, if you will, about the whole connection between the love of animals and the way we eat. Because for me, that's a big thing. We do a lot of animal rescue. Every animal that we have on our property, we have horses, chickens, a rooster, we have dogs, we have a cat. They're all rescues. And they came out of very, very bad situations. My drive initially was for health. It was around inflammation. I was at an age where a lot of people my age were getting inflammation. And so I started because of health, and now it really has moved into connecting the dots between my love of animals and what I eat. So let's talk about that, if you would.
Actually, I think for everyone that comes in, because for me, it's always been, health has been my number one priority,
Mm-hmm.
which is why also as a nutritionist, even though I'm certified too, I would never work with a client who would request me a non-vegan diet or even a vegetarian diet. Because for me, ethically, if I'm not putting something into my body, knowing it's poison, how can I tell you to eat it? I know it's
Right.
poison. Why will I feed you poison, knowing deliberately that, this is wrong? So for me, it's health number one priority. And this is what I tell people. Because the moment you're talking to people, they start feeling that you're preaching veganism and judging them for not having it. No, it's not. Do it for yourself more than anything else. But I think over time, everyone starts making the connection. I remember when I started a plant-based diet, I wasn't thinking so much about the cosmetics I was using, whether they're tested on animals or not. But eventually, now I'm so conscious about it with everything around me. Like, I'm very conscious about what I'm wearing, what I'm using on my skin, and I don't want it to be. And especially when you have so many alternative options, easy to
Right.
find alternative. It's not like you have to like really go to like the foot of the Himalayas to find something. No, it's available everywhere. And when you have so many alternative options, why contribute to cruelty in any way? Try to be as, just be nice. It's okay. Just be nice, because I heard someone say this, leave someone better than how you found them.
Oh,
So
I
if I
like
have
that.
if you have an opportunity to interact with any person or any animal, by the end of the interaction, if I'm leaving you better than I found you, then I think I've succeeded. Be it an animal, be it a being, any being.
I like that. I like that. So in closing, what are your final thoughts for people as we move into 2021 and beyond? What can you impart as your knowledge and wisdom for people who really want to live a more conscious life?
I think when people talk about veganism, people think it is also like it's an alternative diet choice. It's not the alternative diet choice. It's the diet choice if you want to thrive, if you want your immunity to stay high, especially with the coronavirus now, and with the way we are going and anticipating more of this in the future. And if this is going to be your new normal, then you want to thrive. You want to be the best. You want to be in the peak of your health. You don't want to just live. You don't want to just survive this. And if you want to thrive, there's no other diet which fixes your body as fast as a plant-based diet does. So I think everyone should, think in that direction. Switch as much as you can.
Right.
Meet an expert. Talk to an expert if you want to. There are a lot of people who are more than willing to do it for free. They're not even going to charge you for it. There's so many people out there. And there's so much information out there. So consume information. You should know. You should know what's coming on your plate and how is it getting there. That's one. And number two, especially because I work with a lot of people who struggle with obesity, I want to convey this message that diet food does not have to taste bad. Diet food does not have to be restrictive and like a punishment to your body. And anyone who's been on plant-based diet knows this. It's your diet food is your regular food.
Mm-hmm.
There's not difference. There's no diet food which you follow for some time till you lose weight and then you go back to eating regular food. Make your regular food your diet food. So I think there should be a switch, how people think in terms of what nutrition. Nutrition is to nourish the body. And if you're going to feed your body things which are boring, you're not nourishing it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been delightful. I've been talking with Roshni Sanghvi, and this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. And thank you so much for sharing all your insights and knowledge. We'll make sure to put your web address below and your social media channels so that people can reach out to you. I look forward to you starting that YouTube channel because right now, YouTube is like the hot thing. When I do my yoga in the morning, I tune into Jen Hillman or Adrian, and I really find it very beneficial. So please start your channel so that people can enjoy what you have to say. Roshni, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.